What is up, and welcome to another episode of the VOBG. I have my friends here from around the league, of course, Mr. Will and my man Mo. If you don't know either one of these guys, make sure you check them out on their pages, bro. They do some really good content for MLS around the league. And look, I enjoy having other people on here. And I'm a disappointed LAFC fan, and what better way to get a perspective from other people that aren't just strictly LAFC people, right? So Mo, my guy, French guy, we're going to talk about who maybe should have the Dolo job and some of his French connections, and we got to talk about that. And of course, Will, unbiased MLS account, and you guys have seen him on here with me lately, but we are going to talk real hardcore truth. Okay, LAFC has dropped the ball the last 4 games. They look like complete shit. We're just going to call it out for what it is. Mo, we're not going to sugarcoat anything here. Okay, we're gonna talk real deal. Will, you know where I'm going with this? It says it all in there. Is it time for change? And I believe that it is. I posted on my Instagram or on my Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. People were not happy with me. They were not happy with the fact that I'm going after the club the way that I am. But this is my thing, man. If you go to 6 finals and you only walk away with 2 in any other league, that coach is getting released. That's just the reality of the situation. And with the quality of players that LAFC has had, there's absolutely no way that they should be out of this second round. There it just isn't the fact. We should have won more silverware with Dolo with the amount of talent that we have had, and to walk away with only 1 MLS Cup and an Open Cup that was really diluted a lot doesn't speak volumes to what we were promised at the beginning of our existence of being LAFC, black and gold. I said a lot of this on your show last night, Will, but we're going to break it down. And again, I'm glad that Mo's here because a French guy, right? We have 2 Frenchmen on our team. We're looking to sign a third. I put in the poll, who do we think that should be a coach? There was one very popular French player slash anchor slash coach at one point, and I think we need to have that conversation. Guys, welcome to the show. I'm thankful that you both are here. How's it going?
Mo? I'm all neutral, so I guess life is good.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Will, what's up, man?
Well, I feel for the LAFC fans after last night, but hopefully better days are ahead. And after we talk tonight, we can give some of the fans something hopefully to look forward to and feel better about the days to come. But I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. And I know you're sad this is the last episode of the season. This isn't the way you wanted it to end, but I think this could be honestly better for them long term, Nick. I think this could be something that is positive when you look back on it.
No, I do too, man. Look, I think any of us that are real hardcore fans for a certain club, you're going to want the best for your team, right? I mean, Mo, you represent St. Louis. You want what's best for St. Louis, right? So if you were to make it to a final 7 times, 6 times, and only walk away with 2 silverware in the 3 years, at that point, it's a disappointment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and me as almost like the commonest person, I guess, fan when it comes to City, that number is staggering. I mean, like you said, any teams that have high expectations and have that much, of a purchasing group that's spending that money, that type of, coaches get fired for a lot less and winning a lot more.
So, Mo, you have brought some people with you here, man. One guy wants to know about what's going on with Giroud. And look, we'll start there. Why not, Jeremy? I agree with you. Let's just go on and start there. LAFC fans are not happy with Giroud. I have watched Giroud for a long time. If you have followed me, I was really high on bringing Giroud here. And this take is probably not going to be I'm not going to lie. It's probably not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I don't believe it's Drew's fault. I really don't. And I'm going to tell you why. I am a huge City Eye fan. To any of your fans that are watching Mo, let me just go on and break it down for them. I am a huge City Eye fan. And I have watched the French National League for our team for a long time. I love the French national team. I love the Italian international team. And I know that's weird to watch both of them, but I do. It's how I really got into soccer in general. I'm a huge City Eye fan, but Griezmann is one of my favorite all-time players, and then I have Dybala that I really like. However, I've watched Giroud for a long time. I remember him at Chelsea when he played there, and then when he went over to Milan. This guy was absolutely fantastic in Milan. The last 2 years, he had over 13 goals and assists, and then he comes to LAFC and can't get any service whatsoever. And we have a coach that can't make him have service, can't put him in a position to succeed. So I hear all these fans going off about Giroud. Oh, he's a boss. He's this. We have guys that have done better than him on this. What was the excuse then when he was in Milan scoring the way that he was? Give me an excuse, because he was getting all of what he needed there. He had the service that he needed. He had this and that. Like, this guy showed his quality still, and then he comes to LAFC in MLS and doesn't get not one bit of service. And then we're supposed to say, oh, it's Giroud? No. How about is that we don't play a system that actually suits him? If that is a front office problem, if that is a coaching problem, whatever it is, it's not on this particular player. Mo, am I going off a limb on that?
No, I think you have it right, especially watching him play, I guess, since Arsenal, for example. I think what people are kind of missing on that part is that even though he's a striker and he's, the leading French goal scorer and everything, but people forget that he's more of a playmaker for the people on the edge that are actually doing majority of the run, play, passes, and crosses. He's one of those holding strikers. So most of the time, his back is to the goalie, right? So he's the one that holds the ball and have, Dembele and then Mbappe doing the work on the midfield. That's how France won the World Cup, right? He knew his job was to hold the ball and let everybody else around him, from Griezmann, Pogba, Dembele and all that, to do all the dribbling. He will carry the ball, and he had more assists, right? He didn't score that many goals during the World Cup for that specific reason. And just watching LAFC, you can see that a lot of the players, like we'll say Boanga and all that, they want to score a lot of those goals. So they might not just service him, just like if Griezmann, for example, right? Griezmann will pass the ball before he shoots it. So I think that's where the difference is, where, Giroud is not your typical striker. He's not going to score, 25 goals a season. He may have 15 and 10 assists.
But that's the quality that we want, Will. And we haven't got it here with LAFC, because, to his point, we don't have anyone in the mid that can play like a Griezmann, that can, when he's holding up the ball, knows where to be. And we don't have a single person that can do a quality cross to this man.
Yeah, but one of the things, too, that I was kind of frustrated with last night was the formation that's not working. Dolo insists on keep doing it. Bogusz on the right side, Denny Bong on the left side, which we'll get to Denny later, because I think he was the biggest disappointment of the playoffs for LAFC.
We're definitely going to talk about Denny also. We are not holding back on anything tonight, Will.
You can't, if you want to solve these issues, you got to be honest. No, you can't sugarcoat it. You got to be honest about what's going on. But I will say this. I'm confused on why Bogusz didn't slide down to the midfield and why they didn't put Kike on the right side, because you and I were impressed with Kike in that last playoff game. He was creating chances, very lively, and even when he got on the pitch, he looked good. Why not put Maddie in the midfield? Try Kike on the right side, because Kike is right-footed. He plays on the right side. He's better for crosses for Giroud. That's going to get him more involved. I have no idea why Dolo is literally just the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. He just keeps doing the same shit, and it's not bearing any fruit. So I don't want to blame Giroud. I agree with what Mo said. He's a playmaking striker. That's what he's always been. He's a facilitator. But obviously, they want him to score goals. He's only scored 2 goals, I think, since he's been an LAFC player. So he's not even on pace to score the 15 goals that he might score in a good season. They're doing him dirty by the way they're playing, man. And if they're gonna make sure he succeeds or set him up to succeed, they're gonna have to change the formation, because the way they're playing just does not suit, or at least the players they have in this formation does not suit his strengths.
Yeah, I don't think we can change anything unless we change our manager, and I mean that. And I'm dead set on this, right? And I'm going to go back to the Bob Bradley days, okay? And then once we got rid of Bob Bradley, the whole thing is that we were looking for a coach that was going to be a pressing coach, because that was supposedly our style. That was supposedly the LAFC style, to just shove it down your fucking throat. Okay, that's what they were told. I swear to God, like in a press conference, if I didn't work today, I would have pulled it up. John literally made a comment about our tactics were not going to change. We're not going to change. Wow. It's done nothing but change. We have went from a team that went nothing but forward on the forefoot, shoving it down their throat, to a team that is almost like a Jose Mourinho, where we sit and park the bus and do the counteracting thing, and we are defense first. And that is not how you win. It's just not how you win in MLS, for sure. You know what I mean?
You don't have the right
it's not
players.
Really even how they do it in Serie A. That is what really appealed me to how Bob Bradley would play. Now, things changed with Bob Bradley, and I get it. We started sucking, and he was the type of guy that put too much pressure on players, okay? But what he did do is he was like, oh, well, you ain't want to play my style? Okay, well then next man up. Now, that does start to kill people's thoughts about their self, or their abilities, I should say, right? But what Dolo does is he's like, oh no, we just play this defense all the time, and then we'll get our chances. Even in his presser yesterday, we played well. We really are the ones that lost it. I mean, our on goal and this and that. We had 2 on goals in the last 2 playoff games. What are you talking about? Like, you got to have accountability, and he has 0 accountability. And if he doesn't have accountability, the players aren't going to have accountability. You know what I'm saying? You bring in a quality player like a Giroud. Mo just said it. 15 goals, 10 assists. That is good in MLS. Any team would take that immediately. Salt Lake, New York, Kansas City, anybody would take that right now and say, that is my starter. I will take that. St. Louis, anybody. Okay. But when you bring this type of caliber player, and then you completely say, oh, well, you just got to sort of get with our program. We're a defensive team. That's not what you brought him for. You brought him for those assists. You brought him for those 15 goals. And so now you're taking a legend out of his, because that's what he is. He's going to retire a French national legend. Yeah, people would know who Giroud is in France forever. They will talk about him, Benzema, Griezmann, Hugo. They will talk about these players. And we're just now shitting on him because our coach doesn't know how to coach him? That's wild to me, Mo. That's wild to me.
Yeah, especially I think when during his Arsenal days, I think that's where he kind of faded out. But then, going to Chelsea, and then he started to win. Then he goes to Serie A, starting to win. I would say he literally helped France win the World Cup just by not being selfish.
Yes.
He knew that it was the other guys around him that were younger, faster, and more popular to play. So that's why he was a holding striker. If you saw, he did not start. He did not, and he did not. There was nothing. He was always smiling because he knew his job was to hold the ball. If I get a chance, I'll score. But if the team wins, we're good. So it's kind of disappointing to see how it end up for him and not scoring, especially, and all the things that we hear. But from what I've seen from him doing is that every team he's played on have won something, even if he was not the superstar. But now that he's the superstar, maybe there was that stigma that there's a big French striker. And I think every time on TV you hear he's the French leading goal scorer. Yes, but let's not get that confused. These players these days, of course, they're going to have a lot of goals and a lot of cap because there's national games every other weekend, right? So that's why they get all of those caps, all of those goals for that specific reason. So those stats, I don't really like to hear them as often because he's more than just a striker that scored goals.
No, he definitely is. And Will, we had this conversation yesterday on your show when you was like, man, I'm not very impressed with what he's doing. And I said, but he actually got the highlight at one point for his hold up. He was trying to do that. His back was completely to the goal, looking for someone to make that pass to.
Yep. And
not one person was making that run for him to do the pass. And I go, well, I'm actually not upset with what Giroud's doing. I literally told you that. And the fact that is more what people are focused on, it sort of kills me, because we could go to who you were just speaking about a minute ago, Mr. Denis Bouanga. I have been a huge fan of Denis Bouanga, Will. You know that. I have been a huge fan, but he went disappearing this playoff. And to be fair, he disappeared last playoff, and luckily we had some things happen where we went deep and we did well, but he went completely missing. He had one goal, and it was a PK.
So this team is just not a very well-coached team. It's not a very well-motivated team. The LAFC have succeeded and won an MLS Cup not because of Steve Cherundolo, but in spite of Steve Cherundolo. I told Mo this earlier. I've told everybody who's called me up, asked me what I thought about LAFC, because a lot of people have been calling me up, man, because they're just like, what's going to happen? And I like to use this as an analogy, but like Wilfred Nancy does more with less. He had Montreal, a team that didn't spend any money, Nick, relied on bargain players, academy players, value pick, very cheap team. Took him to the second place finish in the Eastern Conference. Goes to the Crew. Crew spend more money than most, but they're not spending more money than LAFC. They win championships. They've won 2 trophies since he's been there, Leagues Cup and MLS Cup. Dolo is the opposite. He does less with more. He does less with more. And I wish that the LAFC fans, because I've gotten a lot of hate for this, but I'm saying this out of love for you guys. I'm trying to tell you because you guys deserve better. Dolo is not the reason this team is succeeding. It's because they have good players. You take Dolo out of this and put him on an average MLS team, and he will fail. He will not do as well. You put a good coach on LAFC, they win half the trophies they've missed out on.
No, I agree with that 100%. Mo, you agree with that?
Yeah, well, you have the players, so who else is left on the chopping block?
I mean, look, a lot of people are complaining about John Thorrington and going off on the front office. I think Thorrington has done a good job. I think he has literally gave this guy a golden ticket, and he has failed numerous times. I'm with Will 100%. I do not believe that it's the players and it's the front office. I believe it's the coaching staff. I truly do.
So I don't know too much about Dolo, but I think one thing that you also do see when you have like high caliber players, sometimes it's like the how the coach or their experience weighs a lot on the players themselves as well. Because I don't know too much, but just his demeanor, I think it's probably a little different than what I'm used to. Or like the difference that we were talking about, Henry and him. You see Henry is standing up, he's screaming, he's pointing at players, he's kind of directing things. But I think from what I see from Dolo, sometimes he's just sitting on
that is not
and it's
him.
just not really moving much.
He is so worried about being Mr. Chill. I'm from LA, went to Germany, but I'm a chill guy.
Yeah.
I'm a player's guy. I sit there like this. I don't show any emotion. His press conference are cocky as shit, very condescending. It's not, I don't like it. I don't. I haven't liked it from the beginning of his press conferences. I was one of the ones that was like, yo, I'm not really crazy about how this dude answers questions. Like it just makes me feel like we're not supposed to really ask these types of things of me. And it's like, no bullshit. We're fans. We pay for our hats, our gear, tickets. Like, no, we're allowed to ask the question, and you can't tell us we can't type thing. You know what I mean? And so, no, he that's not him at all. And I agree with you. Henri, that's the type of coach that I like to see. I threw out a name yesterday, and everybody's but Conte. I like his style.
Yes.
He is in your face. He tells you when you suck. He tells you what you did horrible, and he expects you to come in and be a winner. Do your job. Do your job. And if you don't want to do it, let me know, and I will have the next person up to do your job. Right. And so these are the types of coaches that I look at, and I'm like, man, that's a winner. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's been, Conte, he's been stuck lately with some teams, whatever, but his Tottenham was not great for him, no doubt. But this guy has been a winner. And I agree. I just think that Dolo's I want to be a player first coach, is not good enough, and before you answer that, Will, also, I am not a guy that is okay with making it to finals and being like, oh, well, and I said this on your show, that's all right. Like, we made it to the final, and I've got that comment a lot, bro. Like, when I tell you over 10 times I've got that comment from people, I mean, we make it to finals. And I'm like, so? Like, so what? Like, we got 2, and one was like water, dude. Like, what are we talking about, Will?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, just knowing how he is, and Mo can attest to this, with the way Denis Bouanga was just checked out of the last 4 matches, Thierry Henry would have been in his ass, screaming at him, asking what the hell he's doing, telling him to make better runs, better plays, keep it, be on the look more. And he would have gotten a hold of him, and I think he would have probably played better. He would have had 4 bad games, or he would have been benched. I just think that Dolo is just too relaxed. Like you said, he's too relaxed. He's too cool. He's on cruise control. Let things be what they may. No urgency. He didn't coach that game like it was do or die, win or go home. He coached it like, hey, man, it's all good. Everything's fine. It's no big deal. They need someone. And Nick, if they do move off Dolo, the one thing I ask them to do is hire someone hire a foreign manager for once. No more Bob Bradley, no more Dolo. Get something different. Bob Bradley didn't work out. Dolo honestly hasn't worked out. And all the fans, like you said, are just so willing to down the hill for Dolo is crazy. Like, your team has the most talent, has the best front office, and you guys got 1 MLS Cup to show for it. And you could have had probably 2 or 3. You could have had a Champions League or 2. It's all about the coaching. I'm telling you right now, I've watched this league for a long time. Good coaching can make players better. And if the talent's already good, imagine what a good coach how much more they could elevate this team's quality. And that's why I want to see, aren't you just curious, the fans of LAFC, aren't you just curious what life after Dolo is? Because there was a time in 2019, Nick, when Vela scored 34 goals, 19 assists, and you guys were playing sexy football. Nobody would have moved off Bob Bradley. They wanted to keep him. They're like, no. We played the best football in the league. We like what we do. No, we're not moving off Bob Bradley. There will be a new coach eventually, and I want to see if they can win championships with this team. We've got a sample size of Dolo. He doesn't win championships. He chokes. They need a dude who can finish the job.
Yeah, so I did do a poll, fellas, and I asked, should we, should LAFC let Steve Cherundolo go as a head coach? And A was yes, it's time for a change. B was no, he deserves more. C was only if it's a top tier replacement, and then D was undecided. The two that got the most was A and C. So A is leading the polls right now. So most people do believe that it's time for a change. And so then, of course, I just threw some names out there. Jim Curtin was one, Tata Martinez, our man Henry, and then other, just to see. And between Jim and Terry, they're the ones that are leading the polls. Okay, so they're the ones that are neck and neck right now. A lot of people do like Jim Curtin. They think that he would be a great coach for LAFC, and I can see the appeal for that. I got to be honest. I do believe that either one of these guys would have won multiple cups with the teams that have been given to Dolo at this point. But I am like you, Will. I would prefer Jim Curtin is a great coach. I would be happy if we get him. But I'm like you. I sort of would like for us to go out. I would like us to bring in a Terrier and someone that isn't, he understands MLS, but he's a French national, someone that will understand the Drew, where he will understand a Griezmann that we're trying to bring in. He will understand Hugo, even a Denis. Because I agree with you. I think he would have pulled Denis last night, and I think he would have put in a Martinez, to be honest with you.
No, I agree. And I think he would just hold players more accountable. Thierry Henry has done it all. He is a World Cup winning player who I regard as the best striker in Premier League history. He's done everything you could possibly want. He's had a rocky start with his coaching jobs. Me and Mo talked about this earlier. Maybe not as good as you would like, but still young. Like, he took Montreal to the playoffs and resigned because he wasn't happy in Montreal. He wanted to leave and go back to England. But I think if he went to LAFC, he's going to hold people accountable. He knows ball. He knows how to get Giroud involved, how to set him up for success, who to play around him, what players will fit his system. And also, he's good at making adjustments. He's smart enough to know that if something doesn't work, you have to change it and be fluid. I don't think Dolo understands that. I think Dolo's very stubborn with his tactics, and sometimes he'll change from a 4-3-3 to now he's been playing with 5 out of the back with 2 wingbacks, but it's like a day late and a dollar short. It's too late to do this. It's too late to be experimenting. Henry is good at making adjustments in game, I believe. And if you pair him with an LAFC, look, here's what I'll say too. People say Thierry Henry hasn't proven himself, but I guarantee you that Thierry Henry, even if you think he's overrated, he will have better results with LAFC than Dolo because he'll have the talent at his disposal to make things work.
I agree with that 100%, Mo. And I'm going to tell you the difference, right? You would bring Henry in another as a player. Now we move to a coach. You have Dolo, player, coach. The difference is one wants to be still part of the locker room and worries about being cool with the players. And the other one is like, nope, I want to be great at what we're doing. And he wants to make that sure that it's going to be executed in Henry. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I think probably one of those things that's also that people shouldn't really confuse when a coach wants to be a player coach, because there's different way of doing it. Like, I'm a Chelsea fan, so Mourinho, right? So he was also a cocky person. He was also had like a huge ego. But if you ask every single players that have played for him, they only have nothing but good things to say about him.
Facts.
And they will go to war for him. Like
Facts.
Drogba says, I will do anything for him, right? The entire Chelsea was saying the same thing. But he knew that how he spoke with the press, how he spoke with people, was different than how he spoke with his players. They were saying he went to weddings, he went to birth, he went to everything, but he was a player's coach. But people thought he was cocky, but he also won a lot. And he will make changes. He will drop Drogba, who was the best striker in Chelsea. He will drop him and then put an academy kid. It says, hey, here's your turn. Yep. Because this guy's not doing it. And we paid X amount. So the whole player coach thing can be misleading a little bit, because Henry is also one, right? You have young players or players that will see Henry as like, oh crap, he's a World Cup winner, he's a Europe winner, he's part of Arsenal that was the Invincible. I would tell you, any players that will play for him will like, oh shit, he knows what he's talking about.
Mo, would you say that, like, I'm not comparing their coaching abilities, but would you say Thierry Henry's more like Pep's philosophy, where he's going to be super tough on you, but he's going to love you too? He's going to try to do what it
I think they're probably so far apart because Pep, the technical part of Pep is what differentiate him from like literally any young coach.
Yeah,
that
no,
we can think of.
exactly.
But I think it's that part that, it's two different person that comes. The coach that plays and, during practices that's more active. So you can't see players saying things about him because now there's that certain aura that, hey, I know the coach has done this, has done that. When he tells me to do something, there's a reason for it. And I don't know if players maybe don't say it. I don't follow that much LAFC, so I don't know if, Nick, you can tell us if there's our players that kind of show that, says Dolo that,
Yeah, so Ilie is a big Dolo guy. And to be fair, they all love Dolo, right? I mean, they really do. Like Ilie and them at the last year, it was all about, oh my God, he's the best coach I've ever been with. Hollingshead, the same thing. My thing is they're so worried about how cool of a guy and chill he is that they're not really playing for him. And I want to say something about Jose Mourinho because, again, when it came to the Premier League, I watched Chelsea, so I'm with you on that 100%. But I'm obviously a huge City I fan, and I watched him with Roma, and all the Roma players, the same exact thing.
Yeah.
All of them wanted to fight for that guy. They were surprised when he got let go. They weren't really happy about it. They all had his back, and that is what Jose does. I think, again, I mentioned this with Conte earlier, is I think the only time that he really didn't have the locker room like that was going to be with Tottenham. I really do. I think Tottenham was the only time that people were like, oh, whatever. But, that's just a bad club in general. Like, it sort of screws up a lot of coaches, you know what I mean? And I think that speaks volumes about, I'm not worried about how much you want to like me. I'm worried about how well you will play for me. And I'm worried about how much you listen to my direction and make sure A, B, and C happens. You cannot like me after this. As long as you do A, B, and C, you're on the pitch. As soon as you drop any of those, as you said, I'm bringing in now the young kid that will break his back to do A, B, and C because he wants to prove himself. And I think that's there's something to be said for that. And I think that is something that we lack there with Dolo. I mean, okay, we look for example, we look at the midfield last night, right? I had a comment right here that I was going to share. O'Brien and Atuesta, their combination was absolutely terrible idea. It was a horrible idea. It was. And to be fair, I know a lot of people are coming down on Tillman, but Tillman and O'Brien have actually been pretty good together. You haven't even played Atuesta in those 4 games, but all of a sudden you bring him in for this game. And like Will alluded to a minute ago, Dolo didn't seem like he was really up for it. He wasn't really trying to win this game that hard. And yet you put in Atuesta, who has not been great. Like, what are we doing here? Will.
Lewis O'Brien has, imagine how much worse this team would be, Nick, if they hadn't have gotten Lewis O'Brien this summer.
Right.
He's been their best player since he's been on the team, I think. He's been the most consistent player on the pitch. Atuesta, I know some fans are either you love him or hate him. Me and you've been more on the side of like disappointing, not nearly as good as he was back in the Bob Bradley days. I think that was the better version of him. Brazil messed him up. It was a disaster on the pitch, man. And like you said, Tillman kind of gets unfair flack, criticism, but he's better than Atuesta. And
I agree.
I don't know why the hell why was he not starting over Atuesta? I don't think we really talked about that, but why this game did he decide to go with with him instead of Tillman. Why?
That isn't. It wasn't even mentioned in the presser, bro. It wasn't even mentioned. No one even asked the question.
Well, how
No
dare
one.
you if you do, right? Because he'll balk at you if you ask a question and say, why are you questioning me? It was the best move. Or the fact that Marlon didn't. I'm trying to think of the back line was, okay, Chanot. Yeah, so Chanot started over Marlon. Now, Marlon's been playing sporadically. He hasn't consistently been starting, but there's been matches he'll start or he'll come in at a certain point and play. I'm done with Chanot. I know you like Chanot.
No, I'm done with Chanot.
I think Chanot's been bad since he left New York City a couple years ago. I don't think he's good anymore. I was surprised they brought him back. He's maybe good for a depth piece, but Chanot cannot be starting for you. Aaron Long is decent, not too bad, no complaints. Murillo's obviously the best defender, but Chanot, literally all the issues aside, if it wasn't for Maxime Chanot having that own goal last night, none of this would have happened.
Yep.
None of this would have happened. He was the start of the downfall of last night. And there's an interesting comment Soccer USA said about Dolo. It's not the most recent one, but the one before at 10:34. Letting go of Dolo would set the precedence that if a coach doesn't win immediately, he is out. That's unfair pressure, and you're asking for a carousel of coaches coming in and out. That would be bad. Let me ask you, Soccer USA. Do you follow any European soccer? There's been teams that have fired 3 coaches in 1 year. Like
this year.
Exactly.
Yeah, he follows soccer very well. And Soccer USA, he's a good dude. He's one of my favorites. But I agree with you, Will, right now. I understand where he's going with that, but I just don't understand why we were okay. Why are we okay with losing this much? Like, I don't get this type of fandom. I don't, Mo. I don't. As someone that's coming from Europe, it's hard for you to understand, right? Like, that these people can be okay with losing this many and being like, yo, because in Europe, in Serie A, in Ligue 1, you lose 5 games, you're out, bro.
Yeah, and I think it's almost more than just like Europe now these days. It's like the sport itself is winning is what people remember, right? So when they're talking about the greatest of all time, they don't say how many finals you've made. It's how many finals you've won. The biggest team in the world, they don't ask you how many finals you made, because we make fun of Tottenham because they've made X amount of finals, or they've made the top 4, but they've never won the Champions League or won the EPL. So it's like, that's why coaches, unfortunately, it is unfair, we'll say, for most coaches, but it's the nature of the business now in sport in general. Is if you don't win, there's 12, 15, 30 other coaches that are waiting for your job. And in the world of soccer, they are some of the best coaches are waiting on the sideline for that opportunity. And even if it's not MLS, is that there's a whole bunch of other coaches now. MLS, everybody knows about MLS in the world now. City just went and hired a Swedish coach. So now the door has opened wide that says every single coaches that's looking for an opportunity now will be looking at MLS. No one can be comfortable with just losing or making finals, because now there's not just American coaches, it's European coaches that want to come here and take your job. So there's that whole mentality. So it's not really Europe or MLS, is that this is soccer now. You don't win, someone else will come take your spot and win. And you guys, you're the big clubs now. You're the Chelsea, Man City. Your job is, if you don't win, they write your check. They made the investment, win it. That's
Nick, I got a question
for
you. I got a question for you real quick, okay? And I know we weren't going to mention this, but I think it has to be said, man. It has to be said, okay? And I want to ask LAFC fans, is it not bother you that Dolo squandered this season when this team was capable of making it at least to the Western Conference Final? You and I, Nick, were talking and saying if they didn't win the cup that he should be fired. Dude didn't even make it to the Western Conference Final. Does it not bother you that the Galaxy, who have been down for 10 years, they have not been good for 10 years, just beat the hell out of Minnesota United, they're going to the Western Conference Final for the first time in 10 years and look like they're going to win. And I'm not saying that to rub it in. I'm saying that should fuel you of like why we can't keep Dolo, because this isn't going to work out. You want to get.
It definitely does me. See, again, here we are. We're talking about, and I get it. This isn't Europe, and I understand that, Soccer USA, but I'm with Will on this. It does bother me. Okay, I don't want like the fact that they had their best run, and now this is the first time since since we've been in the league that they've actually went further than us. It was going to happen at some point, but I don't like it. Okay, and I'm not okay with it. And so yes, that does put more fire on me to say all the stuff that I'm saying. And I'm getting a lot. Look, I've got a lot of slack this year. I don't really give a shit, right? Because I speak my mind. I say what I'm going to say, and I really don't care. Okay, but when it comes to this club and anyone trying to doubt how I feel about it, do my research. Do your research. I've never missed an LAFC game since they've been a club. I've done all the research. I've been here from day in, day out, every single game. And I don't get to go to them, but I have never missed an actual live event, ever. When I was traveling around in an RV, my wife would literally make sure that I am stopped at a park with Wi-Fi to watch the game, bro. Like, this is real talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am a dedicated, true fan. And so, no, man, I don't. Like, it's not okay for me. It's not. It pisses me off. And so when people write me these things and being like, oh, dude, you're being too hard, or it's softness, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, we don't have to be Europe, but we have a standard. We were promised a standard in 2015. 14 is when they announced it. 2015, there was like this press conference thing. And when we found out what our name was going to be, and we were told how this club was going to be ran, we were going to be the biggest club in MLS. We were going to have a standard like what Mo was just talking about.
Nick, what did they just do? What did Miami just do? What did Miami do?
That's my point. They have all the great play and fired him right away. Why is that? Because they're not going to wait. They're not going to wait.
They broke an MLS record and still said, you did not do good enough. You did not do good enough. And and people are going to say, oh, he stepped down for personal reasons. I can tell you for sure that he was forced out, lost the locker room, and they told him, they said, hey, man, you can either leave peacefully and say it's mutually, parting ways, or that you're going to leave on your own, or we can do it the hard way and say you're fired. So he left on his own. They're going to get a coach in there, Javier Mascherano. Now, look, I don't know if he's going to be good, but they're taking a chance because they didn't like what they saw. And I just don't know how LAFC fans don't see the regression. First year wins MLS Cup. Second year loses MLS Cup. Third year doesn't even make it to the Western Conference Final. He's getting worse every single season.
Every single season. And I mean, look, man, again, I don't understand it. It's not how I'm built. I am not built to be like, okay, I'm okay with being second best. I'm never going to be second best. If I'm second best, I'm working my ass off more to get to the next one. And if I keep losing, then it's something that I've got to fix. It's something I've got to fix. I can't be the guy that says I'm okay being, I'm okay making it to the final. It was fun. We did a good job. Fuck that. You know what I mean? Like who's okay with that? We're in this game to win cups. We're in this game to say we are the best. We want to bring the best talent. We want to have the most cups. And in our time of being, here, we want to say we run California and this and that. Well, run it. Don't pussyfoot around and then be like, well, we made it to the final, man. Come on. What are you thinking? It's okay. Look at how many times we made it to the final. Like,
I think it's just a different level. I think you guys have the of course, I'm a City fan, so probably my expectations, since we're brand new, would be a little bit more different. But you guys kind of put the standard that you are winning. You've put the money behind it. You've put, you have kind of that culture that says we're winning. So I think that's probably, it almost differentiate of what you see your team go to, right? If you see me with City, we're brand new, so that means I'm a little bit more easy on the criticism at this moment. But when we're talking Chelsea, I'm a totally different person because we
That's
have
fair.
a different standard.
Yeah.
I will say get rid of the coach if we have to quickly. Conte was one of them. So I think it just depends on the standard that you have with your team and the history of winning. And once you see a regression, then it shouldn't be accepted. And typically, unfortunately, it's the coach that usually gets it. But there's the big difference on when the coach that shouldn't have been let go or one that you see maybe is not going in the right direction. So a club will fire a coach that's doing well, but he's not meeting the expectations of the leadership team.
Yeah.
Or there's one that's just not meeting it at all.
I even put in like the tournaments. I'm like, well, what about these tournaments? Bro, you'll never believe it. I got excuses for every tournament. I really did. I swear to God, bro. I can't make this up. And it kills me, right? Like I'm just like, yo, what? Okay, it was a bad call, but yet we still lost the game. Okay, so that was on the Lyon game when we lost the CONCACAF champion against Lyon, and that was in 2023. We lost Leagues Cup to Columbus Crew in 2023. We lost Campeones Cup in 2023 to Tigres, and then we lost Leagues Cup. The MLS final to Columbus Crew. Everyone except for one, I got an excuse on. I'm just like, yo, stop making excuses. The excuse is that we didn't show up for these. One bad call cannot determine the whole entire game. Stop it. Like, we still had chances to turn that game around, and we did not do it. So what are we talking about? Like, dude, stop. I don't understand. How can we just sit here and make excuses and be like, oh, it's okay. Now people want to go after John Thornton. I think John does what he can. I think he's one of the best. Dave, I love you, bro, but I think he's one of the best in the game. But I agree, there is some things, there is some things that he can't help because of MLS regulations or what they do to hold these teams back. If it was up to John Thornton, I think he would be a lot like Miami, right? Will he would go out there and pay all the big dollars. He would bring all these people in. We would have had Griezmann right now.
100%. Now, let me ask you this, Nick. In 2021, were people upset because they fired Bob Bradley?
There was a group that was mad that we were all Bob out, but we were all Bob out when we missed the playoffs. And it's the only time we missed the playoffs. And we were pretty pissed off because he was putting the whole load on Carlos Vela. It was basically Vela FC. And, even his press conferences got to be where it was like, well, you can't ask me these types of things. For some reason, that's the type of coaches we get, where it's like, oh, I did nothing wrong. They just didn't do what I asked them to do. And why are you asking me this? And it's like, nah, bro. You know what I mean? Like, bye. And so on Spaces, you would hear us bob out quick, but then there was the ones being like, I can't believe you guys would be Bob Bradley out,
Well, so Vela was hurt in that season. They didn't make the playoffs. He missed half the season. He only played 19 out of 34 games. He scored 5 goals. Diego Rossi left for Fenerbahce halfway through the season. They lost their 2 best players. If you go back and look at that roster, it was dog shit compared to what they got now. It's not anywhere close. Everybody was cool with Bob Bradley getting fired at that point. Like you said, there's a small group, but everybody was cool with it. So we're talking about if you want to get the excuse machine out, well, maybe it wasn't fair to fire Bob Bradley because he didn't have his best players. I obviously agree it was right to fire him, but like you can make excuses up all day long. It was time to move off Bob Bradley. And when your team is regressing, it's time to move off of Steve Cherundolo. And I'm telling you guys, if you fire him, you will get a better coach. Jim Curtin literally went to the final, played Steve Cherundolo in his first year with a cheaper team. Nick, the fans that watch your show, I'm sure don't know this because they don't care about the Union. The Philadelphia Union's record transfer fee is $2.7 million. Let me repeat that. Record transfer fee is $2.7 million. Mikel Ua, that's their record transfer fee. They build their team on bargain hunting, draft picks, and homegrown talent. They went to the MLS Cup final and damn near beat you guys. If it weren't for Gareth Bell, you would have lost your cup to that team. The reason why they played so well is because they had a good coach who gets the most out of his players. Imagine what Jim Curtin could do with an LAFC budget and talent. If he's doing this with a guy, a DP that only costs 2.7, a goalkeeper that's from the draft, homegrown talent, he's exceeding expectations. I honestly believe if you took Dolo and just put him on an average MLS team, he would fail miserably. He would be fired within a year because he needs great players to even look decent. He really don't look that decent when he has great players. You need someone who makes, like, is there any player that we can say that Dolo has made better? Any player that he has made better? Denny Bouanga was already good when he came to MLS. That's why we bought him. Who's a player that
Cherundolo was already good, and he had a fight. It was like we just let him go. Denny Bouanga was already good. I think Kike was already good. Bogusz came from Leeds. He was actually not. He was already pretty damn good. I mean, John Thornton has really gave this man the golden ticket, and he has found every way to say. Last year was we had too many games. Last year it was, we have too many games. How can we keep up with it? This year it was, the international breaks are hard for you know what I mean, Bo? It's like one thing after another. It's just it's always an excuse and never anything on him, Will. It's bizarre to me.
Well, and I'll say this too. The crosstown rival, we won't say their name because no, it offends some of you guys. They aren't getting any worse. They're doing really well. Okay. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. You guys are going to have to do something different. Go back to the drawing board, as they say, to figure out how to fix this and make them better. Do you really think Steve Cherundolo is magically going to just know how to win finals? When has it ever happened in history where a guy just is a historic championship loser and just all of a sudden figures it out and says, you know what? I actually know how to win these now. It doesn't happen. And I got into a debate with another podcast, another LAFC podcast last night, who were like, but we won the US Open Cup final. You said that trophy mattered. And I'm like, it does matter. The original version where every MLS team played in it, not the one where 8 teams are selected to play in it. And I'm not saying that to shit on LAFC. I'm not trying to shit on them. I would have said this about any team who wins it. It doesn't matter who it was. And the team they played was a fucking joke. Sporting Kansas City is one of the worst teams. And that's Mo's second team, in case you didn't know. That's his second favorite team. But they played them in the final and absolutely smoked them, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. But Nick, what happened the last time we saw LAFC in an actual final was against Columbus in Leagues Cup, and what happened?
We got our asses spanked. We got bent over and spanked.
I was told that the performance where they lost like 5-1 at home, I can't remember if it was Leagues Cup or a regular season game. Regular season. I was told because of that game directly played a hand in why Steve Cherundolo was no longer considered for the national team job. Because of how bad that performance is the reason why they pulled their interest and did not want him to be the manager anymore.
And I don't deny that. I wouldn't deny that at all. I mean, Mo, when you have a coach that can get spanked like that in his own conference, you don't want him as your national coach. You know what I mean? Like you don't want a guy sitting there like this right here and that's just getting spanked 5-1 in your stadium that has been an absolute fortress, and you just get handled.
No, never. And but let's not forget too. Also, finals. That's where the coaches shine. That's when you actually show who the coaches are. The biggest one, I think, the biggest choke work, I guess we'll call it, was the Champions League when you saw Pep against Chelsea when he
Mm.
changed most of his roster
Oh,
because he
dude.
overthought he's who he should be playing in defense. That's how Chelsea was able to beat Man City at the final. If you look at a lot of the finals, it's when the coach mentality and their play. That's why Nazi beat them because Nazi was able to outplay his opposite coach. And I don't know too much about him. I'm just going based on what I see, and what I see during those games and what
Mm.
I've seen from other games in the finals. It is the coach. There are changes at the 60th minute, who they put on the 68 minutes. If the coach is sitting down, it tells you that he has give up already because he
Mm.
thinks the game is over. The moment your player looks on the bench and you see your coach is sitting on the chair with his arm crossed, me as a player, I can tell you too. I've played a long time. You look at the bench and the who you see on the bench and the aura that you see on the bench plays a huge part on what's on the field. If you see your coach like Conte or Henri running down the line, calling you and telling you to move up, move down, it plays a big role as well. So I
Mm.
think those finals should be put. It's a huge thing that you should look at for the coach themselves. Because hey, look at Real Madrid. I think he's the only coach I think can actually sit on the bench, smoke a cigar, and just raise his eyebrow, and the players know what they have to do. I think he's the only one that can do it. Everyone else should be running up and down, and screaming and pointing.
See, he has a great point talking about people on the bench and stuff like that. I mean, look, we know who wasn't on the bench last night. One of ours should be, club legends
That's
within
bad.
Carlos Vela. He wasn't there. But who was up there during halftime giving them the speech? Or Will, who was I saying? Giroud. Giroud was out there hitting the kids on the head. Listen, guys, it's your turn. Get out there. Do what you can do. Make it better. Do this, do that. And I think where it all fell apart, and I keep referencing it, is when we didn't get Griezmann. When we didn't get Griezmann, we brought in Giroud. JT wasn't there even for the Giroud conference. You've seen things just get a little weird. It wasn't the same. It really wasn't. It was not the same. And you felt me as a fan, I was super disappointed. I was very disappointed. Like, how didn't we close this deal? And then we just all of a sudden, oh, well, the Vela thing. This dude played 10 minutes for us. 10 minutes this year. Didn't even show up to not one of the playoff games except for the one that he played for 10 minutes. Other than that, he was on the bench on one, and then he didn't even show up. Like, that is crazy to me. That is absolute crazy. And so that is telling you that something has been off. Something was not all the way there. You didn't have that person that would be telling them, run, do this, and do that. Even just his presence on the bench, as you're saying, Mo, would have been a big deal.
Yep.
To
That's
tell
why
them,
you bring
come
veterans.
on, man.
And that's why you bring veterans, right? That's why you bring old guys. Some of them know they're only going to play 10 minutes, but they're on the bench. And when they look to the side, you see the vet, and he's going to tell you, dude, this is what you need to do. This is what you do. And typically they then become coaches because of just that.
Yeah.
They're 37. They've been there, done that. And the young kids look up to him. So I was kind of surprised when you say Vela was somewhere else other than, even if you don't dress, stay right behind the bench. If you look at the teams, the players that are not playing, that are in, I forgot how you
Street
say
clothes.
that in English. Yeah, street clothes. They're right behind the bench.
Yeah.
They're not in the boxes. They're right behind them. So it's kind of surprising to hear he was, with the VIPs instead of.
Very surprising. And it was even more surprising when he didn't even go to Vancouver. And I told Will, because this international break, it was a perfect time to have Vela on the pitch to be there. No, he didn't show up. He didn't even show up, did he, Will? I mean, he didn't even fly on the plane, but guess where he was? He was at a Clipper game.
During the playoffs.
Man, I just think there's a culture problem with this team, man. I think Dolo has built a culture where there's no accountability. Like I said, with Wonga, he's not holding him accountable. He's not holding Vela for not being with his team. He's just cool, man. He's just cool with how everything is. He's cruise control Dolo. That's what I'm gonna call him, cruise control Dolo.
Cruise control Dolo.
That's it, dude. Cruise control Dolo. That's who he is. He's cool with everything. There's no culture, no accountability. He just doesn't hold a high standard with these dudes, man. Vela should have at the bare minimum been on the bench every single game with his team, even if he didn't see a minute. I'm pretty sure John Thorrington, I think Dolo was kind of like
his buddy
with Vegas, and they were waiting for him to eventually be the manager.
Yeah, but let's don't talk about his stint in Vegas. He won one game there. One game in Vegas. Him and John Thornton were buddies. Dave, I know where you're going with this, and I see what you're saying. I get it. Thornton definitely has to have some accountability, but he is giving this guy a golden ticket. He really has. And so he's basically said, I will give you these players. It's unfortunate that they have to come in during the summer and stuff when the season's halfway over. I understand where you're going with this, but a lot of this is on Dolo. He has been too calm, cool, collective. I want to be the Cali surfer guy that was born and raised here, soccer dude, and that isn't what we need. That isn't what we need. We need a Curtin. We need a Henri. We need someone that, and I want an Henri. That's who I want. But I will be okay with Curtin. I want someone that is going to hold guys accountable. I really do. Guys, I know we're over our hour. First of all, this was a bashing on Dolo, and I really don't give a shit.
Well, let me ask one more question before we end it, because I think this is important. This is important by everything we talked about tonight.
Yeah.
Is this going to happen? Are the fans going to put pressure on the club to actually hold a standard of them winning? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most. The fans have to come out and forces and say, we don't want Dolo to coach this team anymore. We're ready to turn the page and move into a new direction. I know you're going to be voicing your opinion, Nick, but are the fans going to be doing this? Because they're just going to wait you out and just say, and just move on to the next season, have Dolo come back, and just have you guys shut up and take it.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen, because not a lot of people think like I do. I mean, we've had a couple in here, but they're not going to. No, not enough people are going to be screaming about it like I am. I mean, you see it in here. People aren't really huge Dolo out people, and that's fine. But no, I will. I'll be honest with it. And if he comes back next year, every time we lose, you better believe I'm going to have one of these types of shows.
They'll change their mind. They'll change their mind if the crosstown rivals win a cup this year. I'm sure that will wake people up.
That'll be unfortunate, because I don't even want that to happen, right? Like you're saying stuff that I don't even really want to hear. I'm about ready to throw my computer out the window just hearing you say it. Like, that's how I get affected. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's how I feel about it, right? Like, I'm just mad about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm butthurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It felt like we got cursed by the first place in Western Conference, and now here we are talking about I don't even what? Now I just want to I just want to be out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel. But other people want to be like, it's okay. Like, it pisses me off, dude. It just, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't. But listen, let me say something right here. This is the end of this season for VOBG, and a lot of stuff has changed for me. And I'm grateful for the ones of you that have shown up. 600 and some of you showed up. We've always had a pretty big audience. And then lately it has been what it's been, but the ones that have stuck with me through it and appreciate the fact that I'm always going to keep it real, I appreciate that, man. Having a guy like Will and Mo come on here that are parts of this community of the MLS podcast, I appreciate you guys 100%, man. It means a lot to me that you guys are here. If you guys don't know either one of their shows, I highly recommend y'all go check them out. They both are extremely incredible at what they do. They both want the best for this league, push this league, and put out great content, not just live shows like this. They both put out really cool content, and I wish and I hope that all of you go and subscribe and support them. Mo, tell them where they're going to be able to find you at, man.
Oh, same old Mo Football TV and podcast. I'm everywhere. And definitely appreciate you because you've been one of the good people that are just not, online people. We talk outside of everything. So you know what? For me, good people, you're good to me, I'm good to you. That's how life should be. We forget about the other things, Like I always say at the end of all my shows, life is short, so why always be angry, right? Just enjoy football and life goes on. There's a lot of worse things happening.
I need that. I need that mentality. You know what? I think I might use that at the end of this. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
I might have to use that.
but
no, honestly, Mo, I appreciate you being here, man. First, few times you've been here, but you would always be in the comments, and so thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Great show, great content. Will, tell them where to find you. Everybody knows already. You've been on here a ton of times, but this is going to be our last one for the season so far. Let them know where they can find you at.
Yeah, you can follow me on X at MLS Moves. You can follow me or subscribe to me on YouTube at MLS Moves. And I have an Instagram at MLS Moves. I'm not as active on there as I probably should be. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of by MLS Cup Final Day. I'm like 280 away. So I'd really appreciate if you guys subscribe to me and check out my content. And I appreciate you letting me come on here with you, Nick. I know that maybe some LAFC fans don't really care for me too much or think I'm a hater, but I just try to be honest to try to help the club improve because I want every MLS team to be the best version of themselves. And I know LAFC is important to the league and I want them to be the best version of themselves.
No, man, I've enjoyed, like Mo said, man, these are guys that I talk to outside of just the show, right? Like, it's not just like we get on here and do it. Like, we actually have conversations, real life conversations outside. And that's why this show couldn't have been a better one to have two guys on with me. A hardcore LAFC fan, but other guys that aren't that can sort of bring me back down. As Mo says, why be so mad? Let's just watch some soccer. I love that, man. I love that. And I appreciate their perspective and thank all of you for always rocking with me again. I appreciate it. And, look, LA's still going to be black and gold no matter what. We just got to now turn this around. We can't sit around and wait for something to happen. We got to go out there and make it happen. So hopefully the front office is doing that. They're going to make it happen. And you better believe I will be the account that is constantly holding them accountable. As Dave and as others said, if it's not Dolo out, John Thornton, I will keep them all accountable. And I can promise you that. That's what you're going to get from me. But until next season, we're done here, guys. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Late.